Lee on Amazon Co. UK KDP. Chapter 29 Nature. He was noticing nature more, the blush of a flower, the wisp of a cloud. In his old career, his mind and eye were only focused on profits, and he'd forgotten about the beauty in everyday things. It was nice to be wealthy, but it was better to be rich inside, he thought. That was a bank which no one could break into. He pondered on what he was going to do for the rest of the day. He had so much time stretched in front of him. He remembered that it was a Sunday and there was always church. It was a bright autumn morning and he wandered into town. It was so early that there were few people around. A homeless man stared at him and he avoided his gaze. He wasn't one for conflict so early in the day. He looked up and saw McDonald's and decided to go for a coffee. It was common sense to go to the cheapest places as he didn't have unlimited funds. His biggest fear was going hungry. It's better to think positive, he thought, to take each day as it comes. The place was empty except for two teenagers chatting in the corner. They were easy to avoid. He sipped his coffee and felt himself coming back to life. He thought he'd take his time until the morning service, and then at least he'd have somewhere to go. Time went by quickly and he felt himself nodding off. And when he got to the church he was nervous, and he wasn't comfortable meeting strangers who would ask questions. To his relief, the people at church were welcoming and friendly. The organ began and he felt himself relaxed for the first time in days. The Fortunate Tramp by Jason William Lee. He saw the vicar, a man named Paul, who gave him a friendly nod. The service flew by and he even found himself enjoying the hymns, some he hadn't heard since school. Paul introduced him to a few people who asked him lots of questions, but he decided to keep things close to his chest and not reveal too much. He was overjoyed to be invited for Sunday lunch. When he saw the roast beef and the Yorkshire pudding in front of him, he thought that he would pass out as he was so hungry. Hello, viewers. The aroma filled his nostrils and he was salivating like a hungry dog. He could hear everyone around him making small talk, but the only thing that he was conscious of was his rumbling stomach. Thankfully, he didn't have to wait long before he tucked in. Each mouthful was like a burst of heaven, and he savoured every bite. No one knew the joy he felt, having a hot, healthy meal. To them it was nothing, but to him it was everything. Hello, viewers, please sub me if you like my book. The woman across from him took an interest in chatting. She was a jolly-looking black woman with white smile and rosy cheeks and jet black hair. She reached out her hand and he shook it. He could tell that she was saved, because she was in a mania of happiness, like she was being permanently tickled. Hello, viewers. She asked him the usual churchy questions, and he answered a few, but nothing about his private life. To be polite, he told her that he believed in a creative power in the universe and that behind all things there was something he had considered in quiet moments, and he thought it better to give them a morsel than to be harassed into reading or discussing the Bible. Her name was Sharon, and he quickly worked out that she was pleasant to talk to. The last thing that he wanted was arguments. Getting to 50 had made him realize that life was too short to get angry about anything. He had to tell her they were sleeping rough and newly divorced. He didn't want to go into the details. Are you eating properly? She asked. I'm doing okay, he replied, and patted his round belly. And then he added, it wouldn't do me any harm to lose a bit. She laughed. All in all, he had a great time, and he was beginning to feel like a part of the community. She asked him if he'd contacted the authorities for help, and he said no. He didn't want to bother anyone, and at this moment he wasn't sure if he wanted or needed any help. He just needed time alone and to sort himself out. There was something a lot of people didn't understand, but he was determined to live life on his terms. Skibidi. Finally, everyone went home and he was left alone again. Paul gave him a torch and he used it to read books he had picked up from the charity shop. It was a great way to spend the evenings, and he looked through his rucksack and found just what he was looking for. Jaws by Peter Benchley. Like most people, he loved the movie, but he had never read the book. When he was married, he never had time to read, and even if he wanted to, the soaps were on all the time, blaring away, so it was hard for him to concentrate on anything. The first sentence gripped him. The shark moved through the waters. He couldn't read quick enough, and the time flew by as he scanned the pages bathed in torchlight. He must have read 50 pages before he fell into a deep sleep. Dropping the torch by his side, his sleep was as deep as the ocean, and then a light shone on his face. Thank you, viewers. I'll read a bit more. Please sub me, viewers, if you like it. I'm getting very tired. He woke startled and half asleep. A hooded figure stood above him, his torch pointed in his face like a weapon. What do you want? Tom managed to say through his fear. Money, mate, all of it, and be quick, or I'll use my torch to bash your brains in, he said cruelly. Tom was terrified, and he pawed his pockets for money. His hands were shaking, and he managed to pull out all of the notes and handed them over. I hope that's everything, the thug said menacingly. Tom looked into the young man's eyes, and he didn't see any life, only blackness. You should be more careful, mate, the thug said. Tell anyone and I'll be back. Tom kept his head down, and the man walked away, clicking his torch on and off as if he didn't have a care in the world. For the rest of the night, Tom slept fitfully. Every time he closed his eyes, he could picture his attacker leering over him. He was frightened. It was a long and painful night, and when morning came, it was a great relief. Thank you, viewers. Good night. Please sub me if you liked it.